Welcome to Fun and Fundraising, everybody, the podcast where we talk with people behind top nonprofit galas and signature fundraising events to showcase how they positively transform their communities. I'm your host, Rob Giardinelli, and today I am so excited to have two wonderful guests on. We have Lora Farris and Marjon Henderson, and they are the co-chairs for the upcoming American Cancer Society Cattle Barons Ball in Dallas. In addition to it being the largest gala of the ACS and the largest single night fundraising event they have every year, this year is extra special because this year they're actually going to be one of those few organizations through their galas that is going to cross the $100 million mark. So this is really something to be celebrated. It's been going on for 51 years. And I look forward to really diving in with Lora and Marjon to talk about this wonderful event and the things that we can expect this year. So with that, Lora, Marjon, welcome. And we're so excited to have you both on as guests today.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you, Rob.
Absolutely. So, Lora, we'll start with you. Can you tell us a little bit about what the mission of the American Cancer Society is?
Absolutely. So American Cancer Society is one of the leading cancer fighting organizations. Their vision is to end cancer and want to, end cancer for everyone, and also try to improve the lives of those who are living with cancer, not only those individuals, but also their families.
Perfect and succinct answer. It's everyone, literally, I can't think of a person on the planet who's not touched by cancer in some way, shape, or form. So it's nice to hear that mission. And it's really meant to help everybody in some way, shape, or form, whether they realize it directly or not. And, with that, this is such, Cattle Barons is such a legendary event, and ACS is such an iconic organization. I love to hear individually, because it's always interesting with event chairs how they get involved with organizations. So we'll start with Marjon, and then Lora, I'd like you to fill in, but talk a little bit about how each of you initially got involved with the organization.
Yeah, I'd love to. I think one of the things that's so magical about Cattle Barons, beyond our cause, is also that it is a very wonderful group of women. And it is 100 women who are working and fighting for this mission. So it is moms, it is professionals, it is a group of really, really talented people that use their personal time to raise funds. So I initially got involved. I have worked for Neiman Marcus for 20 years and had friends that were members who were just, again, incredible women who did a lot of really great things in our community and encouraged me to get involved and be able to take some of my talents that I have and use professionally and be able to use them for some good, or rather in this case, a lot of good. And I will have been in Cattle Barons 10 years as I'm chairing and it's been an amazing year. I've met so many wonderful, amazing people through it, and to meet amazing, incredible, talented people, and then also be able to raise these funds for cancer research is something invaluable and something I really treasure in my life.
Very well said. And what I appreciate you saying is, about how there's 100 women throughout Dallas that are involved, and that there's various tentacles of the community that each of them represent to allow you all, and we're going to use a Texas term, to lasso Dallas through the love of this organization. Yeah. So I really appreciate you mentioning, the wide range of, wide range of women that are involved. And Lora, I'd love to hear about your path of how you initially got involved with Cattle Barons and ACS.
Yes, of course. So my mom was actually a member. So I do remember we have something called Junior Cattle Barons, and Junior Cattle Barons looks a little bit different every year depending on who's chairing. But I remember volunteering when I was younger and going out and helping maybe stuff goodie bags and meeting all of the members. So I have that fond memory of it. But when I really became involved, I friends with Nancy Gopez, who's a former chair, and then Christy Bear, who's a former member, and became really good friends with them. And they encouraged me to get involved. And it's a mission that's always been important to me. My best friend growing up, her mom fought breast cancer while we were in high school. And so it's just, as you mentioned, cancer touches all of us. And so it's something that I really wanted to get involved in and help out as much as I could.
That's fantastic. And I love that you all got involved in different ways, but you've all both been involved for a really long time. And Marjon, I'll start this with you, and Lora, I'd like you to chime in as well. There are so many wonderful cancer charities all throughout Dallas and all throughout the United States. What makes you so passionate about ACS, Marjon, that you've been involved with it for a decade? Because that's a really long time to be involved with an organization from a philanthropy perspective.
I think what's great about ACS, and it really is the Cattle Barons piece, is that the funds really do stay directly in North Texas. And I think that's important. This is where I'm raising my family. It is where my company is based. It is where we are collectively really working to make sure that if my children were to get sick, or a friend or a family member, like I said, it's here. And so that's the big reason. I think there's great power to an American Cancer Society that has really great, corporate relationships and things, as well, as we're working to really connect and make sure that Cattle Barons has a flavor and feel of its own, which, has now started in Dallas, and then it expanded to a lot of other cities, which just shows kind of the power and how much people love the idea of, cowboy culture. And, long before Beyonce made cowboys cool, Cattle Barons made cowboys and cowgirls cool. So how that looks and feels, and having that corporate support of American Cancer Society that just allows Cattle Barons to be even bigger and grander and do so much more good.
That's fantastic. And Lora, I would love for you to, share, where does your passion for this, for you to be involved, starting when you were a teen, all the way to adulthood? What has made you continually come back and support this organization?
Yeah, well, I think Marjon touched on it a little bit earlier, but I think it's our members too. It's these really great friendships that I have developed while volunteering and working hard towards a common goal. I think has been one of the reasons that I've wanted to stick with it. And we, as Marjon mentioned, also we all have other things going on. We all have jobs. We're mothers, but we all work very hard together. This would not get done without our members. I mean, yes, Marjon and I are leading the charge, and we're very honored to lead the charge this year. But there's not one thing that we couldn't get done without the rest of the team.
And it does take a village. Lisa Cooley was once a guest on my podcast, and she was like on the third or fourth episode, and she said, what does it take? And she said a village. And, it's funny that that's kind of a full circle thing back into Dallas, with that. And that really highlights that. And I want to touch upon something that Marjon said, in her response about why she's so passionate. One of the things that she said is that the funds go back into the North Texas community. So Lora, we'll start with you, and then Marjon, I'd like for you to pick up on what she says. But how does the Dallas chapter of Cattle Barons, especially because it's been syndicated, for lack of a better word, into other markets, how do you incorporate a local feel while at the same time highlighting the mission of a national organization?
Sure, absolutely. So for Cattle Barons, I mean, gosh, I would probably describe it as Texas glam. Obviously, everyone I feel like in Dallas likes their glam, but we bring it back to kind of the roots. The past few years, we've had it at South Fork. I think being in the location where Dallas was filmed, you can't get more Dallas, Texas than that. And it's sure, of course, it's a fun party, and we're all there to have a good time. But what we like to do while we're there is remind just all of our guests throughout the night why we are giving back and what the money is going towards, why they supported. We have throughout the night, obviously, like live and silent auctions where you can bid and win these fantastic prizes and experiences. But we try to, as I said, remind everyone that these funds that are being raised are going to go back to North Texas and the research. I mean, we have members and past members that have benefited from this research. So just having kind of slight reminders throughout the event, I think is kind of the way that we kind of bring that back to the mission.
Well, those nods and testimonials are key, and I know we'll probably talk about that a little bit later on. And Marjon, I'm really interested in your take on it, largely because you also work for an organization headquartered in Dallas and Neiman Marcus. So talk a little bit about, specifically, the importance of keeping the money and the funds within the community.
Yeah, I mean, you led in directly into what I was going to kind of speak to, which is Cattle Barons is a great night for businesses and communities to come together. So I love that it's an opportunity, whether it be, yes, a Neiman Marcus that was founded right here in Dallas, Texas, or companies that have moved here, perhaps, right? We all know we've had a lot of companies, we have a lot of new neighbors over the past couple of years. And Cattle Barons has been a way that we've been able to watch new CEOs, people be able to, we have a really, really fabulous company. And what he told us was it's a great way for him to connect with his team that night. So he has a couple tables, he sponsors, and he brings his team to connect and have a good time while also doing something good. So it's a wonderful opportunity for local businesses and organizations to connect with each other, to network with one another, right? To say, hey, I didn't know you worked there, or I didn't realize that company did that. And that's, I think, a little secret sauce that Cattle Barons has, that we connect people. And that way it really does become truly, truly a community event that is able to raise funds, also have people have a lot of fun, like Lora said, and then be able to connect and make true community.
That's absolutely true. And I'm really glad you explained, and I would say of all the guests I've ever had on the show, you most succinctly explained that galas are so much more than people in fancy clothes running around getting drunk. It's so much more than that. There is a lot of connectivity. There are a lot of deals that I've seen be made at these types of events over the years. It really is the ultimate networking opportunity. And you kind of get to do it in a really, like, who wouldn't want to network at South Fork? I'm glad that you brought up that piece because it's such an important, critical piece. You don't get to $100 million raised without having that connectivity with the business community, because that's really going to add fuel to whatever rocket ship of an event you're trying to create and make.
Agree.
Absolutely. So, Lora, I want to address this next question to you. And, I mentioned this at the top of the show, how CBB, or the Cattle Barons Ball, and I know that that's what it's called for short, is the largest annual single night fundraiser for ACS in the United States. What's the secret to creating a great partnership between an event and a nonprofit? Because I will say, of all the nonprofits and organizations, your relationship with one another is really unique and special. So please elaborate on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of it is donor recognition and retention. And I think that we, as Cattle Barons and ACS, I think we do a great job of maintaining those relationships with our donors throughout the years. So it's not just a one-off. We develop these relationships with them and are constantly communicating with them. I mean, just thanking donors is such an important part, I think, of fundraising and events. And so just making sure that we are, as I said, in constant communication with them, not only to thank them, but also we are already talking to them about next year and, hey, what are some other opportunities that would be beneficial to you, while also obviously helping raise money for our mission. So I think that that's really important. And then I know I touched on it earlier, but good management too. I talked about the group of 100 women, but there's so many moving parts for an event like this. And each woman within the organization has such an important role within it. So I think that that helps as well.
That's fantastic. And, Marjon, I'd love for you to, include your 2 cents, along with anything about how ACS works with you all as a group to really create something that's just really cohesive and really awesome.
Well, I think Lora had the magic words in terms of donor recognition and how important that is. And it made me think that I need to order my Cattle Baron stationery to really start writing those handwritten thank you notes, because we all know there's power in a handwritten thank you note. Our mailboxes are more full of bills and catalogs than they are lovely notes thanking people. So I second Lauren and how important that is. And then the other thing, as we really think through, is we do have a really amazing staff that helps us do a lot of different things. I mean, last week we were doing Junior Cattle Barons, which was a patient prom that we did in collaboration with Children's, and the staff was helping us unpack and organize, and they keep our numbers on track. And I will text them at all hours. I'm way more the culprit of doing that than Lora, I will say, of all hours being like, okay, this contract came in. What number are we at now? And keeping us on track. Laura and I both have full-time jobs. And the American Cancer Society Cattle Baron staff has really been an integral piece in us being able to do it all, I would say. So that's something really special that Cattle Barons and American Cancer Society is able to provide to us, so that we can give that service to our donors and to our members and beyond.
That's fantastic. And I love the answers that both of you gave, because you showed how good chairs operate. You've both really got to be hands-on and really engage, especially to get to, a 9-figure level like you all have. So you all have a really good rapport. I love each of you to, kind of mention, what is the secret to having a good relationship with your co-chair?
Well, you're in luck, because we actually have a good one, and you might have chairs that, on some things might say, oh yeah. I have to tell you, I think one of the things that has been, and I'll hope Laura feels the same here, that has been really magical in this is we both really trust and respect each other. And with that, it means that you make a decision, and we're not going to wait for the other one to necessarily, in some cases, approve it. Now, we also have that mutual respect, which is there are ones that we know are bigger decisions, and I'm not going to make that decision without talking to Laura. So, and then I think the other thing is we have very organically found our swim lanes, right? Everyone has their own talents, right? Everyone has things that they're a little bit better than another. And we never sat down and said, I'm going to do A, B, C, and D, and I'm going to do, X, Y, and Z. But instead, we just kind of fell into it. And that trust factor, which is the ultimate piece, allowed that to work, right? We've realized Laura's going to respond to that email a lot better than I'm going to. And Laura might say, hey, I know she's going to have that covered. And it's also saved us a lot of time, right? We're not double working. No one has time to do that. So she does her things, I do my things, we connect, and we hope we agree.
That's a great answer. Laura, I would love to hear, your response with that, with your, with the synergies that you've created with Marjon for this year.
Yeah, of course. And I've absolutely adored working with her. And she's going to be one of my very best friends at the end of this. So, but what's funny, we always talk about, I had to go to South Africa, not had to, but I got to go to South Africa, in February, and I was gone for about a week and a half. And there are decisions that had to be made while I was gone, but I fully trusted that those were, in good hands, and I came back and everything was still great. So, and I think also Marjon and I have just learned, like how best to, respond and work with each other. So I typically am a night person and she's typically a morning person, but it's funny now I've found myself waking up a little bit earlier and answering emails because that's when she was doing it. I was like, okay, this could work for me. So it's just kind of funny to see how our styles have, maybe changed a little bit.
Well, and how you've learned off of one another. That's kind of the nice thing is that, with Marjon, it sounds like, a lot of it is, I know I can do this and I know Lora can do that. And with you, it's, how can I maybe change my daily routine to make me more productive throughout the day? So I love that you each drew upon different strengths that each of you has in terms of, trusting and communicating well with one another. And, speaking of communicating, you all have a pretty awesome musical headline guest this year in Carrie Underwood, probably one of the most iconic country artists, certainly in the 21st century. So I love each of you to chime in. Maybe we can start with Lora this time, but what advice would you give to an organization looking to have a celebrity or a high profile person be at their event, whether it's a comic, whether it's a musician or any other sort of celebrity?
Yes, of course. And I am sure Marjon and I will have the exact same answer for this, but number one is hire an agency.
Hire a good agency.
Good agency.
Hire people that you trust. Sorry, like they
Yes.
love and trust you. Yeah.
The thing that we discovered, Marjon and I both hire talent for our day jobs. So that was something where, like, we know that we can do this ourselves, but in wanting to get a response or a timely response from an artist, a good agency is 100% necessary.
That's fantastic. And since you both have that experience with that, Marjon, and you had brought up the talent management part, what should organizations look for when hiring one of those talent management agencies? What are one or two things that they really need to look at what that organization does well to know that they're the ones to go forward with?
I am big on synergies and energies a bit. And I think it's really important that you find people that felt really passionate about what your cause is. So whether it's American Cancer Society, or whether it's children's organizations, or whether it's Alzheimer's, whatever it is, we found a tremendous amount of faith, because the agency that we used, Show & Co., based in Los Angeles and New York, they were really passionate about our cause. And they were passionate about this group of 100 women. And I knew they were not going to let us down. So find people, again, that you can work with and you can trust. And it's okay to not use who maybe your organization has always used. Cattle Barons had not previously used the agency that we used. And Lora let me kind of, say, I trust them. And with that, she trusted me. You'll hear the word trust, because I think that's an important thing when you're fundraising together. But I think that's it. And, Rob, we've got some Carrie Underwood cutouts in my living room. So, because we are very excited about her. So you're welcome to get one if you want to just have her in the back of the rest of your podcast calls. Like, happy to loan one.
I would love to have that. I mean, I've got all these books, for anyone who hasn't seen me on video. It's, my husband collects them, through the, magazine. We've had the good fortune of working with a lot of publishers. So we've, really curated this really nice library. So who wouldn't want a nice person to kind of go in with the photos we have, on the bookshelves as well? I would love that. So, next time I'm in Dallas, I'm going to grab that and take it on back to Austin.
My husband will happily give you one of the 3 that are in my list. Yeah. But we're excited about her, and the response to Carrie has been, Shania was pretty major last year. We got to give our shout out to our chairs from last year, of course. But Carrie, and we grew up with Carrie. I think Lora and I did, right? Like, I remember sitting in a living room with friends, voting for Carrie, the summer after I graduated college, and wanting the small town Oklahoma girl to win American Idol. So there's a bit of a personal connection, I think, that we and a lot of our members have with her, making it a little more fun.
Absolutely. And, I'm glad you mentioned last year's performer, Shania. And what I have always been most dazzled by with your organization is just the list of, they're legends. And I don't use that term lightly. These are legends. I'm going to read some of these names that have performed. Tammy Wynette performed in the mid-70s. Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson, Loretta Lynn, George Strait, Toby Keith. Last year, Shania Twain. This year, Carrie Underwood. I'd love to hear each of you and kind of your take of, how does an organization use those past headliners to continue to get big names? Because it's not a fluke to have all of them. So you all are obviously creating a great experience for them. So how do you use that to your advantage to secure more amazing headline guests?
So I was gonna say, I think it obviously, reading out that list is, yes, it's very impressive. And I think we rely on that list a lot. And so thank you to the past ball chairs who have secured that talent. I think for us for this year, and if you look at the past probably 10 to 15 years, you will notice a pattern that a lot of them were male until Shania last year. And so we really felt strongly and passionately about bringing another female performer for this year. Obviously, it was great for 50. And so 51 and going into the next 50 years, we really wanted to have that female performer. So I think that was kind of one of the angles that we took to Carrie and say, listen, we've had these wonderful performers, but we want you to be in line with this list. And you are, I mean, she's above and beyond what we could have expected. So we're very excited.
That's
Yeah, it's a great
fantastic.
list. It's a fun list. And, we read it. And, of course, when Laura and I were named co-chairs together, it was the first thing we sat and talked about at Park House while having a glass of rosé and started going through our list. And thankfully our dreams were able to come true. But it was really important to us that we've talked a lot about the power of this 100 group of women. And one of the things I've always said, if I was going to cheer Cattle Barons, I wanted a woman headliner. I wanted to add one more component to show that women can do it all. And Carrie was able to check a lot of boxes for us.
Absolutely, she did. And, her being there adds to the special gravity of the night that we talked about at the top of the show. Having raised, this year we'll get you over the $100 million mark for, American Cancer Society. I'd love for each of you to talk a little bit about how Cattle Barons has evolved its fundraising over the last 51 years and what it's like to be trusted to chair such a milestone and historic night for not just Dallas, but Texas fundraising. I mean, this is really an incredible feat. And I'd love for Marjon to take this one first, since Laura took.
Okay, I was like, well, we're good at kind of knowing when to start, when to not start. It is. I think it's an honor for sure, right? Everything's bigger in Texas, and that includes Cattle Barons. It's fun when I'm trying to like pitch to brands or people to donate to our cause, and in New York or in LA, and they'll say, "Oh, I've heard of Cattle Barons," right? So that's something kind of that's a special little tool we've got that a lot of other organizations don't always have. You're like, "Oh, I've heard of that. I've always wanted to go to that." I think that some of it that's kind of magic within it, and how we've evolved is with well, there's a lot of pieces, right? I think how we have really engaged our membership more, I think, is a great way that we've evolved. I think how we've engaged even community more is a great way that we've evolved. And I think how we have gotten to where we really have to think outside the box, right? I think there's a lot of great respect for each year's ball chairs, and you look to the people that did it ahead of you and you get their advice, but you want to put your own flair. And one size doesn't fit all for each year, right? Like, a lot of respect to like Heather Randall and Diana Hamilton, who ended up sort of cheering for 2 years because they were our COVID ball chairs. And we learned a lot in those years. We all did, right? We all live, we breathe, we work differently. So I think how we evolve is the openness to continue to evolve, I think, is maybe the best way that I can say it. To not put ourselves in a box and not say, well, we've always done it this way. Or maybe we have always done it this way, but maybe we need to change it up a little bit. And change is good. We've all learned that a little change is good, while still keeping to some things that are really sacred and make Cattle Barons as special that it is.
I'm glad you brought that up, because the nonprofit events that have staying power are the ones that are willing to, I wouldn't say change, but they're the ones willing to evolve with the times, whatever that is. And COVID was the ultimate, I think, evolution for a myriad of things, whether it was professional, whether it was philanthropic, or anything in between. So
right.
It's been a good learning experience, and it's good to see an organization such as yours really kind of take it, harness it, for lack of a better term, and really put out some great new elements to celebrate the second half century, of this event. With that, I'd love, Laura, for you to tell us a little bit about what guests can expect at this year's Cattle Barons.
Oh, yes. Well, lots of fun, obviously. We're excited. So to start, we have kind of our opening act, Straight Tequila Night. They are a 90s country cover band, which I just absolutely love 90s country. So this makes me so excited. They're going to play kind of all of the hits that I think everyone wants to hear. And we expect lots of dancing. And obviously we'll have good food. And Marjon and I've been working hard on the menu, so no one will go hungry at the event. And we have a lot of great packages for our live auction, unique experiences for the silent auction. Marjon was just saying, chairs each year like to kind of bring their own flair. So within the event, I work more in the sports world, so we'll have a sports lounge, and then Marjon, with her being like in retail, we're gonna have some retail experiences. So that's just a fun way that we can bring some new and exciting ideas and items to the event. So we're thrilled with that, and then obviously the culmination of everything will be Carrie Underwood on stage.
That's fantastic. And that sounds like it's really just going to be this amazing, amazing iconic night. The fact that you can mix such unique elements, country music, sports, fashion, and throw it all together in one event and make it seem seamless and effortless, which I know your event is known for. It's really an awesome thing, an awesome thing to hear. And, I know we're coming up on time here, and, I want to end with this. And given that both of your backgrounds, I know you'll have very interesting answers. And Marjon, we'll start with you, and then Lora, you can wrap up. But what is one thing all successful fundraising events have in common?
Ooh, I feel like I should have prepared for that one. This might sound a bit cheesy, but love. And I think, love for what you're doing, love for the people that you're working with, love for the organization that you're raising funds for, love for your community. And I think you can never have too much of that. And while it sounds cheesy, hopefully everyone takes it with a bunch of sincerity. We love what we're doing, and we love who we're doing it for. And I think if every organization can look at it through that lens and make sure that they're not making it about themselves, but that they're rather making it to share the love that they have, then they are guaranteed success.
I'm glad you brought up love, because really, and we talked about this on the show many times, the three components we always say are kind of the three-legged stool is wow, fun, and heart. And heart is love. So I mean, you hit the nail on the head with one of the legs on the stool. So, I love that answer personally. And Lora, I would love to hear your take on what is one thing all successful fundraising events have in common.
Of course, and yes, I love Marjon's answer too. And to your point, one of the things is fun, but I think being engaging. A fundraising event has to be engaging. If you're going to see continued growth year after year, not only are you going to have those donors that support the mission, and we're so grateful to them for coming year after year, but you do also have to engage new donors. And I think we've touched on it a lot today, but in order to do that, we have to continue to come up with new sponsorship, underwriting ideas, continue to engage those new donors to get them excited about the event, and to keep that fundraising moving forward, and obviously keep everything mission forward, but also fun.
Absolutely. And, again, thank you so much, both of you, for taking the time. Congratulations on this great milestone, and to the next $100 million that Cattle Barons raises, with your successors in the years to come. So Lora, Marjon, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us. This was fun. Thanks.
Thank you, Rob. Yes, it was. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. And Dallas's Cattle Barons Ball, benefiting the American Cancer Society, will be held on September 28th, 2024 at South Fork Ranch. For more information, please visit cattlebaronsball.com. And that will do it for this episode of Fun and Fundraising. I'm your host, Rob Giardinelli, reminding you to keep it fun, keep it interesting, and your guests will have a great time. Have a great day, everyone, and take care.